Sometimes it's when we become a parent that experiences really hit home as we watch them happen with our child, as we watch our child experience them. In this episode, we talk about premature babies, so small you could hold them in your hand, and how chiropractic care helped them to do what their bodies innately know how to do, from latching and growing and thriving. We also talk about the power of stories in marketing and not being attached to results. This is an amazing episode with Dr. Ryan Rieder. I'm Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media and chiropractic advocate. Thanks for joining us for another episode. We're going to get right into it. So today's guest on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate, is Dr. Ryan Rieder. I was blown away at Focus, Oklahoma City. He gave the most engaging talk I've ever heard at a chiropractic seminar. And as I've gotten to know him more, he's not just a great chiropractor, a clever marketer and businessman, but he's also a really genuine person as well. So welcome, Dr. Ryan.
Hey, Jenna, thank you so much for having me. I saw your stuff at Oklahoma at the same event that we were at, and I was like, it's vitalistic, awesome stuff. If you listen to this right now, we personally use Jenna in our own business to help support many chiropractors because we felt safe with her content and her vitalistic outlook. And it's rare to have a copywriter and someone that's not a chiropractor be as awesome as you are. So first of all, you're freaking awesome, and it's awesome to be on the podcast.
Well, thank you for being here, and I appreciate your kind words. I told somebody yesterday, chiropractic has just, invaded my head space and my heart space, and I just love it. So that's why I want today for you to tell us a story, somebody who got better, whose life quality was improved under chiropractic care. So tell us your story.
When I saw the title, and I love what you're doing, chiropractic doesn't cure, and then it had made me think a lot. My story is quite unique. My chiropractic story is quite unique in that I'd never had a chiropractic adjustment before I went to chiropractic college. And I felt like a lot of guilt about that my whole career, when people say, what's your chiropractic story? And, you hear these amazing people that you look up to, that adjusted from birth and had these incredible, and I was like, I so wanted my chiropractic story, I had my first chiropractic adjustment at college, and then life happens. And chiropractic changed my life in so many ways. My career and my first job, thank goodness, was with an amazing vitalistic chiropractor. And that's when I started seeing the miracle of chiropractic. But it was really only when I had kids, I think, that I really, I wouldn't say appreciated, but, had my chiropractic story for me personally. I'd seen so many amazing miracles. So I thought I'd share that with you. Both my kids are premature. So both born at 32 weeks. Both born naturally, 8 weeks premature. We wanted a home birth and we wanted that journey. And that, if you've been through that process, we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially chiropractic moms or who have that experience, And then we went through this journey and we had this premature baby and we were in hospital for 3 weeks, across my two children, and both born exactly on 32 weeks. It's just so weird. Like to the day, we just have children at 32 weeks. That's just our thing. And if I had to tell you my chiropractic story with that, there was fear. There was not wanting to be in that environment. I didn't want to be in that environment. We didn't want to have children in hospital, let alone in being NICU for 3 weeks, where really the vulnerability of being in that position, really we started to see some amazing chiropractic miracles. And for me, chiropractic doesn't help premature babies would be the title of this. And our story was, when you have a premature baby, no one tells you these things. But first of all, because we didn't trust the medical system, we couldn't leave Emma alone for a second. I think that's the start of our chiropractic journey, is that we questioned what they called standard procedures. For example, at like 31 weeks, it's a standard procedure to scan the cranium with ultrasound. Now, there's loads of studies that says raised intracranial pressure, raised temperature. Well, we didn't want that, So we would say, hey, you're not going to do that to Emma, would you? And she's like, no, we have to get consent for everything. And I'd say, even the ultrasound, they would say, no, that's a standard procedure. We don't need consent for that. So the start of the chiropractic miracle for us was just having the wherewithal about us and the knowledge about us to question things. And then I think one of the hardest things to have a premature baby, and if someone's listening to this, you only know if you've been through the process and you've had a premature baby yourself, is feeding's really difficult. So the beginning of the process is all tube fed. And Jen, I don't know, do you have any experience with this with your kids?
I don't. I
No.
don't. But I'm thinking about I have 4 kids, so my little newborns and just how precious they are. And
Yeah.
just even trying to imagine that
Yeah.
is
I mean,
really heartbreaking.
Emma could fit in my palm of my hand when she was born. Like she could put it on. But the hardest thing is you're told that when you have a premature baby. So first of all, you're told things like don't do too much skin time because they need to rest. Now, there's no research around that. You know, they've got to be close to their mom, and they're going to. So straight away, you're like, no, that's definitely not the case. So I think Nat and I, in 3 weeks, not more than 1 hour a day was my child alone in hospital. For 3 weeks, we were top and tail. I'd stop at 11 o'clock, maybe an hour where Emma was alone or Ben was alone. Both were in hospital. And then I would swap and we'd be there and there'd be a hand on them and they'd be on one of our chests. But the hardest thing is they're tube fed. So on the like kind of every 30 minutes on the hour, whatever it is, you got to feed them through that process. So first of all, we chose, straight away we chose a natural breast milk, and then Nat would express, and then we'd have the whole process of feeding. But you're told that when you have a premature baby, that there's very little chance that the baby is going to be able to breastfeed. Because what you're told is that they're too little and they get too fatigued and they haven't developed a proper latch. And with an uncomfortable latch, then we have increased air and all that happens during feeding. And if you're a mom that's been through this, you will know that that's some sleepless nights, and a tired mom is a stressful thing for the whole family. So it's just, I think Dr. Tony Abel talks about this perfectly with his perfect storm, as it just leads into so many challenges. So first of all, you're told the baby's never going to latch. And we're in hospital, and my specialty was in pediatrics. And when you have a baby and you have a premature baby at that, your idea of like, how can you help this baby? Mm-hmm. As a chiropractor that's seen miracles my whole life, I tell you something changes. Something changes when you have a 8-week premature baby. And you question everything about your competence and confidence in chiropractic, in your ability to help a baby. And we had a very good friend of ours, Dr. Kelly, and I hope she listens to this one day. And we smuggled Dr. Kelly into the hospital. Okay. So Dr. Kelly was a family member. We only allowed family members into NICU. So we smuggled Dr. Kelly into hospital with us because everyone's in a NICU. It's all open. So we had to like put all these screens up and everything. And after being told, that, and if I explain the whole cycle of that, it's really taxing on everyone in the family with the tube feeding, that she's not possible for her to latch. I'll never forget this. I don't even fully understand the mechanism of this or how this is even possible. But when Dr. Kelly laid her hands on Emma, I'd never even be able to tell you what she was doing, but she was working on cranials, and Emma latched for the first time mid-adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get a little, like, even when I think of it, I watched my child, so first of all, you're told it's not possible for this baby to latch. And then not only did Emma start latching, but we actually see like the first latch literally mid-adjustment. I couldn't explain that to you. I can't give you the mechanism for this. I can't give you the neurological pathway that happened with this. And I can't give you any reason why. Now, I'm a chiropractor and I see miracles all the time. But to see this with your vulnerable baby in someone else's hands, and to see, I just wish, especially pediatric docs, could have seen what I've seen, because boy, seeing is believing sometimes, and the miracle of seeing that firsthand. So that's my personal, that was probably when I say I was waiting for my chiropractic story. My chiropractic story really came obviously through my patients, but for us personally as a family, it came through our kids. And we got to see just how much it changed their lives. So I hope someone listening to this now knows, when you have a mom who's got a prem baby, or when you have someone who's got a young baby, I can't fully even tell you what a big difference it made in our lives, but the hope it gave us, that my wife so desperately wants to breastfeed. Mm. And the medical statement telling you that you're probably not going to. It's very, very unlikely. And she didn't breastfeed from then on. She had lots of little things to go through and build up strength and all that. But the hope it gave us, they're like, wow. And both my kids breastfed exclusively, both born at 32 weeks. So, wow. So I think the title of this can be, chiropractic doesn't help premature babies. It sure does. Don't ask me to explain it. Don't ask me how it worked. And there's people far smarter than me that can. But I saw mid-adjustments what effect it had on my child.
Yes. And just like you said, that the body clearing that neural pathway in whatever way the body needed for the body to do what it knows how to do. Our babies have all of those primitive reflexes. They know what they're supposed to be doing. It's all written into that tiny DNA. And so just clearing it so that they can do that is such a beautiful thing. We have a friend who has a premature baby right now, and they have I don't remember at what week she was born, but they've said, oh, her palate is too soft. And so the feeding tube has formed around the palate, and there's this problem and that problem, and oh, her tongue and this and that. And it really is heartbreaking to, hear these things and to see these things when we know that the brain is always sending that picture of health and vitality out. The brain is always trying to.
Listen, we have to understand that, we're wired for health and we're wired for that process. It's almost like you're told that your child will forget. Another thing they say is that your child gets lazy. So what they say is because they don't start latching early through being premature, that they get lazy and they just don't understand it. Now, listen, if you're hungry, you're gonna, it's built into a human nature that we look for food and we look for that process. Now, we didn't let our child go hungry before I get anyone hurling abuse at me. But I think the biggest thing for me, and for anyone listening to this, is, the faith being restored in the process of healing. And when you're challenged in that extreme environment, I mean, it's the perfect storm. You've got the lights, you've got the medical doctors questioning every question you have. Literally, I mean, we had social services just about come, so one of the things when you have a premature baby, just for everyone to understand, is they give prophylactic antibiotics as your child gets born, because one of the causes of premature delivery is infection. Now, Natalie didn't have an infection, and we knew that we shouldn't have an infection. But what they do is they give prophylactic antibiotics. They take bloods, they send the bloods for cultures, and then they take the baby off prophylactic antibiotics when the cultures come back clean. Now, you question everything, and they make you question everything. But we knew in our heart of hearts. But so we questioned it. We said we don't want the antibiotics, and eventually I was cornered by multiple specialists, and my midwife pulled me aside and said, "Look, security is being called outside." Yeah, and you will be everyone listening to this right now, like, we live in an environment where, when you know the truth, it's sometimes really difficult to. I mean, this was it was an impossible situation, right? So in the medical system in the United Kingdom, you can get vetoed if they believe that you are putting your baby at danger. They can override you, right? So, but that was real hard for us, and that was a real challenge for us, and we questioned everything, and we had no. Do you know that when you have a premature baby, they don't change the schedule of vaccinations? Okay, wow. So let's say the first schedule of vaccinations is on day 7, we give the first doses. If your baby's born at 32 weeks, 8 weeks premature, they still give the first dose 7 days after. I'm just making this up now from the period. They still give the first dose 7 days after that baby was born. The baby was not even supposed to be out the womb yet.
Right. Instead of going from the date when they're full term.
Yeah. That is insane, first of all. Obviously, none of my children are vaccinated, but that's, even if you choose to vaccinate, just think of how ridiculous it is that you would even consider putting foreign material within the baby when it's not even supposed to be out the womb yet. It's insane. Anyway, so we question that, and it's a tough journey. And I am a chiropractor, so I just feel for any parent that had to go with that without the chiropractic, if you will, story behind them and philosophy behind them, it would have been an impossible journey for us to go through. So, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, it is so reaffirming to our own confidence. And I think in my own stories, not when things have happened to myself, but when it's my children. My son, my oldest, had a lot of sensory processing issues that I had no clue about as a young mom. Mm-hmm. And it was when he had been under chiropractic care for just a couple of months. And he got on a swing, and I looked over, and he's swinging. And just that his nervous system had calmed, that perfect storm of everything, like you said, that his proprioceptive sensors had calmed down enough,
Mm,
integrated enough that he was on a swing.
mm,
And just as a parent, that smallest thing of your child doing something
mm,
normal, like you
mm,
said,
mm,
latching, like
mm,
it's only a parent that gets excited, that excited about like she's latching, it's happening, there's hope. And for me to see like my son who had gone from at a dinner at our church and in the gymnasium, the weird food, noises, echoes, people, he was in a hood just rocking by the wall. And to see him go from that to swinging,
mm.
um has just been, and now he's 14 and amazing. And there are times when you still see like, oh, he's overwhelmed.
Mm, mm,
It's all too much, but he has tools, he is adjusted, he can self-regulate so much better
mm.
than I ever imagined possible.
Do you know what's interesting about that story is that what scares me about the story you just told is how many chiropractic miracles, I think it was Patrick Gentempo that said this. He said, like, if you're not seeing miracles in your practices, it's just that you're not looking. And I'll take that one further. It's just that you don't know what to look for
Yeah.
sometimes. Because no chiropractor is really going to say, hey, it's because we've got the nervous system functioning correctly that Jenna's had the miracle of seeing her child swing. And also, like, underplaying what a miracle that is, because it's supposed to be normal. Like, latching is supposed to be normal. But for us, like for you and us both, that simple thing of seeing my child latch for the first time, that, oh my, there's hope here. And for you, seeing that nervous system calming down enough for them to be in a space where your son could swing, I could think it's like that hope again, that hope. But I do want everyone to listening to this to understand that, Jenna, if you potentially hadn't been as aware of chiropractic as you were, and if I hadn't potentially been as aware, if I wasn't a chiropractor, as aware of chiropractic I was, both those miracles might never have been credited to chiropractic, because
Right.
you might say, oh, it's just a lovely coincidence.
Yes.
Yeah. Or etc. So I think anyone listening to this right now is like, if you're not seeing miracles in your practice, it's simply that you're not asking the right questions. You're not asking the mom who's getting adjusted, whose family's getting adjusted. I always sleep, by the way. And now that you say that, actually, Johnny's had like 3 or 4 really good nights. Oh, that's really common. We see that all the time. You do see that all the time? Yeah, we see that all the time. When we get that nervous system firing again, when we get that nervous system regulating again, we can see things like sleep improve. We can see things like, the neurology around your immunology improve. What does that mean? That means, that actually we see that statistically proven. We have, more immune cells. We have to explain this obviously in a way they can understand it. But, if we do not make that link for our patients, if I'm a chiropractor and I can barely fully understand what happened in front of me, how are our patients going to make the link and fully understand if we don't put it in layman's terms and make the link for them? So I think that's a really important point you made, that your and our stories both could have gone unmissed as chiropractic
Yes.
miracles had we not been aware of what we should expect with chiropractic miracles. But that's our job as educators with our patients. Is like, these are some of the miracles you can expect. And I mean, it's no surprise that there's a saying that says expect miracles, but we have to get them, we have to give them insights into what are some of the things they can expect. And I bet I always say, when you adjust the patient for the first time, I always say, let me know how you sleep tonight.
Yes.
I'm like, why? Like, no, we'll see. See you tomorrow. Let me know how you sleep tonight. I'm like, wow, doc. Like, and they'll come back and they're like, gee, I slept or I didn't or whatever. And like, everything's supposed is. But it's only because I made that reference that, like, hey, you should expect that. Or hey, you could expect that. Or hey, don't leave the office straight away. I'd like you to sit in reception. I'd like you to have a couple of glasses of water, chat to the team. Why? Because often when we adjust you for the first time, that's the first time we've stimulated that nervous system. There can be some immediate detoxing happen. We have, every chiropractor listens to this has had a patient cry on their table when we've released that nervous system. Wow, like, that's how powerful the chiropractic adjustment is. And I'll go one step further. Is on your first adjustment, anyone listening to this right now, the most important lesson I ever learned was less is more on the first adjustment. And what chiropractors try to do is they do too much on the first adjustment. They're trying to earn the right, or they're trying to impress the patient, but less is more. And my goal for them when I got off the table on their first adjustment was I wanted the patient to say, is that it?
Yes.
And everyone's scared of that. And I would, and with so much confidence, I would say, we'll see. We'll see how you are tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. We'll see. That's all you need. Yeah, that's the first time we ever got that nervous system firing in a while. We'll see. And they're like, wow, really? And this is what you should expect. And that's what you expect. And you should probably drink a couple glasses of water before you drive to sit in reception for a little while. It changes their context of the power of the chiropractic adjustment. Anyway, I hope someone took a few lessons from that.
Absolutely. And so I love that thought because I'm reading the book Atomic Habits. And one of the things that he said was dopamine is released when we anticipate a reward, not
Yes.
when we get the reward.
Yes.
So there's a bigger spike of even priming their brain and their nervous system by saying, you are going to sleep well tonight, is already priming them for that, combined with the power of their clear nervous system. I love that thought. I wrote it down. I'm going to remember that. But also, I want to get more into this because you coach chiropractors and mentor them. You have DC Practice Growth where you do all of the things. So since you are into this, I want to talk more about what else would you say on marketing chiropractic and sharing these stories better?
We definitely do not have enough time to talk about marketing as a whole. The problem about speaking to a speaker is they never shut up if you talk about the thing they love. My common feedback on podcasts, which I'm not going to do today, but is like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how long that went. That was like the longest one we've ever done. But we're not going to do that today. I guess everyone needs to understand. I once heard a saying, 50% of all marketing works. We're just not sure which 50%.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Okay. And I probably would say this is like, typically I can tell when someone actually doesn't potentially know as much about marketing as they say, when they like say, this is the only way to do it, or this will definitely work. And the truth is there's a lot of nuances to it. And there is application. One person can do exactly the same campaign and one person can make it work and another person can't make it work. So your effort and the intention and the planning and all of those things are incredibly important to make every campaign work. And all campaigns work. It's just how we work them, right? So sometimes if someone's listening to this right now and you've tried everything, my biggest lesson from a marketing perspective is most of the people I help double or triple their new patients, it's normally not that I've taught them something new. It's normally that I've simply reminded them of something that they used to do that actually worked, that they stopped doing. We are weird. We are just weird creatures, entrepreneurs. We literally find things that work. We get bored of it and we literally stop the thing that helped us get to where we are. It's insane. So often most people come into my space and they're like, oh my goodness, you reminded me of so many things that I'm not doing. And I really get happy with that. I love it when someone says to me, that was the best 2 days ever. Like let's say one of my conferences, and they say, honestly, if I tell you the truth, I'm like, please do. They're like, you didn't teach me anything new, but wow, you taught me you reminded me of so many things. And I'm like, amazing. If you're not implementing stuff you actually know how to do, that you used to do, that worked, there's very little chance that you're actually going to implement a brand new strategy that takes lots of testing, lots of failures. Your first 10 or 15 lunch and learns might be failures. Your first 5 to 10 Facebook ads will be failures. Your first Instagram reels and posts and things are probably going to be failures. And most people don't want to make that investment. So often I'll say the biggest bang for your buck is usually going back to the stuff you either used to do and stopped doing and looking at that. Like what used to work for us? When we used to do those patient appreciation events, up and heck, we were just busier when we did that. Okay, why did we stop doing that? I don't know why we stopped doing it. Let's get back to that. We used to send birthday cards. Why did we stop doing that? No idea. We just stopped doing that. Trust me, send birthday cards again. Anyway, so there's too much to talk about, Jenna, but
yeah.
But in the time we have, that's my biggest takeaway for anyone listening to this right now is go look at what you used to do that worked and you stopped doing and go there first and go, hey, we can get this done. And some people are normally going to listen to this now and go, yeah, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do screenings anymore. Great. You don't have to do screenings. I recently did a post when there was a period in my business where I owned 8 offices and we did 60, I think it was 80 screenings in 6 weeks, 80 in 6 weeks. I didn't personally do one. But I built a team to do that. Now, people mistakenly go, I don't want to with it doesn't work. Screenings work. Whether you like them or not, people sign, it doesn't matter. I've almost never, ever had anyone in my entire life go to any event ever and not get a sign up. So So they definitely work. You just don't want to do them. And that's the difference. So can you build a team to do that? We built a full team to do that around the clock for us. We would do sometimes 2 to 3 a day, but true story, 80 screenings in 6 weeks. If I can do 80 screenings in 6 weeks, can you do 1 a week?
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I'm not saying you have to do it, but you can build a team to do it. So anyway, as I say, if you get me talking on this, we're in trouble. But hopefully that answered some of your question. We have a consulting group that we have with the largest consulting group in Europe and the UK. And now we've come across to the US. We now have hundreds of chiropractors in some way, shape, or form across the world. We have also morphed into a bit of an agency. So many people just asked us to do it for them. We've just tipped over. We're over 100 practices now. We do all the marketing for across the world. We are probably the largest testing ground of what's working right now on the planet. There's probably 1 or 2 agencies that are as big as us, maybe 3 or 4, but it's one hand type stuff that only specialize in chiropractic. So we get to learn from our market, from their mistakes, what is working in one state versus another state. Believe it or not, there's things that work that don't work in Dallas that absolutely work in Oklahoma. Yeah. So close. Don't know why. Don't ask me why. I didn't come up with the algorithm, and I didn't come up with the amount of chiropractors on your street, but it's important that we know that, right? And then I'll finish with what really interests me at the moment. I've said this to you before, Jenna, is people want the easy option, which is paid, right? Paid traffic, right? I want to do Facebook. I want to do whatever. And what we continue to see is especially in saturated markets. I mean, there's one street in Sarasota. I think there's between 8 and 13 chiropractors on one street, right? And what we're seeing in that type of environment, you don't have a choice but to play the organic game. And they're going to go, but what's the return on investment? It's irrelevant. When they click on your Instagram page and they look at your reels and you've got 3,000 views, 7,000, 110,000, 1,000, etc., that is the new form of Google reviews. Let me say that again. If they land on your socials and they don't see that, you're in trouble. Because if you actually listen to how patients found you, they're going to say something like this. I saw your Facebook ad. I didn't come to you. And then I walked past you at the fair. I didn't do anything. Then I got your postcard to the post. I still didn't do anything. And then one day I had a back pain and I might have seen something. And then I searched you and your Instagram page ranked 3rd or 4th. I clicked on your Instagram page. I then looked at all your reels and I saw it looked really interesting. And then 2 weeks later, I clicked on the paid advert. So what actually got them across the line? The truth is all of it.
Yes. All the touch points.
The social proof of the social media organic stuff now is becoming a have to have, not a nice to have.
Yes.
You with me?
Yes.
It's like the way I look at those like views on your reels, it's the new Google reviews. It's like, wow, there's something to this place. Like it was an oh shit. I'm going to cuss. That's an oh shit moment for me. When I heard that in my own business, it's like, hey, I looked at your YouTube channel. I looked at your this. I looked at your this. And I was like, wow, we need to up our game. And I hope chiropractors listen to this now going, that's an oh shit moment for me. Yes, they are going to look, whether you like it or not, they're going to look at your Instagram page.
Yes.
There better be something of substance on there. And there better be some views on there. And there better be some stuff. Now, the path to getting that is filled with treachery and hardships and it's hard, Jenna. You do this for a living. There is no blueprint. There is no thing. It's going to be lots of trial and error, but it's worth it. I'll tell you one more stat. Do you know what the most downloaded app in the last quarter was worldwide?
I'm going to say YouTube.
Okay, TikTok. What is the quarter before that?
Probably TikTok.
For the last 4 years in a row, quarter on quarter, TikTok has been the most downloaded app on the planet. Okay. Now, I have been guilty of saying, TikTok is for teenagers, kids, and they're not our target market. Now, almost every single person listening to this is still going to be in the chiropractic game in 15 years' time. My oh shit moment with TikTok came when I realized your 27-year-olds now or 25-year-olds now that are going to be 37 in 10 years' time, they sure as hell going to be your target market, and they're only going to have known TikTok. And every one of us is going to have wished we went harder on TikTok and Instagram 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, right? We all wish we'd gone harder on Instagram or harder on YouTube channel. I mean, like when YouTube was launched, my biggest regret in the world was I wasn't in a place in my life, but I wish I'd started a YouTube channel 20 years ago. I don't know when did YouTube start? I don't even know. But
I don't know. I think it's probably been closer to 20 years, but
yeah.
definitely it was in its infancy, 15 years ago.
Yeah. So listening to this right now, if you're like, oh, it's not worth my time because they're not my target market, you're more than likely going to be involved in chiropractic in the next 15 years still. And they're certainly going to be your target market then. So
And it's
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 worth
even
putting
just the
time in.
skills that you will learn as you do it, as you practice it, the skills that you will learn in storytelling. Tuesday, I was at my chiropractor's and I said, I need a Mother's Day reel. And so he started off, hi, I'm Dr. Ryan and things. And then he was like, oh, I don't like that. And so we did one version and then I was like, okay, start with the story. Because all of this that you're saying of they're going to see the value of what you're doing at a screening, they're going to see your offer on your paid, and then they're going to come back around and what is going to get them on your social media is the stories. So, coming back to when people are like, I don't know what people want to see on my Instagram. And they're like, Jenna, tell us what topics people are Google searching. And I'm like, tell a story. You already have the story. Like you said, with your daughter or with my son,
Yes,
the
yes, yes,
miracles that
yes,
you
yes,
didn't
yes.
recognize,
Yes.
those are the stories. And so it's what do you put on this all important organic social media? It's like the stories, the things that people didn't even notice, but you noticed because you asked the question. You said, think about how you're going to sleep tonight. And then they come back and they say, you know what? I traveled to China for years and years and I have no circadian rhythm. And now I do. And I sleep wonderfully. I sleep 8, 9 hours a night. And so it's
No
coming back to all of this marketing. To me, it always comes back to this core of
story.
story. Like, what do we post? Stories. What do people want to hear? Stories.
Yeah.
And we have them in our own lives and in our practices. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's the old saying. It says stories sell, facts tell. And it's what's really interesting for me, actually. I really don't like that this is the case. But if you look on organic engagement on social media posts with chiropractic, say Instagram pages, and you look at value posts versus like chiropractor speaking to camera versus some cool little collection of whether it's a template you've seen someone else do, etc., and or an adjustment video or whatever it is. It really irritates me that it's the case. But what's that saying? Don't hate the game, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's like if you look and you sometimes I'll look at some when I analyze someone's social media and I'll be like, you realize that all the videos you did where you're a little bit silly or very off the cuff or whatever. Those are the ones that got the views, not the one where you stood in front of the camera or gestured the tie and went, hi, my name is Dr. Ryan Rieder, and here at Connection Chiropractic, we help with no, people don't care about that. And one more thing I'll say to everyone, stop being so attached to the result because I don't care what anyone tells you. It's probably going to take you 2 years. My view in life is like, I'm doing this now so that one day, I love this thought. One day someone's going to say, I'm lucky that I started this 2 years ago. I've just moved to America. One day someone's going to say to me, oh, Ryan's really lucky. He built such an amazing business in America. He's just lucky he moved there. I'm like, dude, there was no luck involved. I had to take my whole family away from there and there and there, just to set it. If anyone listens to this, it's easily $100,000 just to set yourself up in the States. And, you just, everything's new, the house, the car, the whatever. And it's like, yeah, of course, we're very blessed to be able to do it. But in the same way, there's no luck involved. So when someone looks at your socials 2 years from now, here's what I want everyone to listen. What are you going to do now? And what are you prepared to do now for the next 3 years so that people look at you in 3 years' time and go, Jenna was really lucky she started 3 years ago. No luck.
Yes.
I was just prepared to do it for 2 years.
Somebody said your meteoric rise to success. And I was like, you know what? Okay. A meteor hurtles through space in the dark for years and years before you see it shine. So, meteoric rise to success, start 2 years ago. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And you help people with these strategies, right? And I'd say to anyone listening right now is don't be so attached to the immediate result. Like Jenna might give you strategies. You might have to do 50 before you hit a home run. That is life. That is how it works. I'll tell you a story. There's a famous comedian in the UK. His name's Jimmy Carr. He's recently interviewed on, are you familiar with the podcast Diary of a CEO?
No, but I'll look it up.
It's I think it's just about the leading entrepreneurial podcast in the world at the moment. And he's an amazing human being. And my American listeners listen to this would be unfamiliar with him. However, you should be familiar with him. He's an absolute genius. But, to make it, he did 300 gigs a year. Now, he's just got a Netflix special and he's doing 300 gigs this year. I can't even contemplate doing 300 gigs a year. The travel involved. Imagine saying, now as a comedian, he's trying to make it. He's talking at a pub at lunchtime and he's talking at a pub at 8 p.m. and they're different cities and he's going to drive. And then he's got to be in Wales, because British, right? He's going to be Wales tomorrow. And then he's going to be back for a London gig tonight. 300 stand-up comedian gigs a year before he made it for years.
Yes.
Let's call us the normal human being can't even contemplate that.
Right.
So think about your social media presence and go, I'm probably going to have to do 300 outcomes a year. I'm not saying that's not, look, I hope everyone listens to this makes it or gets found on their 10th post, but the likelihood of it happening is slim to none. So rather set your expectations and go, right, I'm going to have to do this for 2 years to get some real traction on this thing. I'm talking about the organic specifically.
Yeah.
Because I think there's too much pressure on people like, oh, I want a home run. Dude, you're going to have to do 300 posts over the next 5 years. I'm not saying that's what it takes to make it, but I'm going to say you should be at least prepared to do that over the next 5 years, because we want to position yourself in a place where you're going to be successful in 3 to 5 years. And we hope it happens sooner, but that's the truth with organic social.
Absolutely. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to put all of the links where people can connect with you, find you.
I told you shouldn't you should let me talk.
No, I love it so much. And I know that we could go all day. Someday we will have to do something where we just, get a captive audience and we go all day. But I'll put all of the links so people can connect with you in the show notes. And I just appreciate you and what you do for chiropractic and what you do for the world.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome. You're awesome. And thank you. If you took the time to listen to this, it means the world to me. Please connect with me on my socials or check out my website, www.dcpracticegrowth.com. And thanks for having me.